The dead zone disappearing. And I know it's so near it. There's a presence, there's a presence, there's a presence, there's a presence. And I want to exercise it. There's a reason, there's a reason, there's a reason, there's a reason. The salesman wants to sign his man. They know they can eat him. And they know they can feel him. The dead zone disappearing.
All right, and you are listening to Musicians and Makers Podcasts. We are live with Sam and Brandon of Anxious Wave. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Doing good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being here. Yeah, no, for sure. So you just heard Dopamine off of their 2019 split with Panzer Chocolate. So what was that song about for you guys?
Let's see. Let me try and remember what Dopamine was about.
I thought maybe it was Dopamine.
Well, I mean, I am a clinical social worker, so a lot of the lyrical themes that come through in the songs that we write, lyrically anyway, they're about things that have to do with work and mental health in general. But Dopamine, if I remember correctly, it was written kind of about the human plight that is trying to seek joy and how fruitless that can be sometimes, and how we try really hard to get the dopamine bursts. So yeah, that's what that's about. But you can just rock out to it whatever you feel.
That's cool. How long have you been a band?
Oh man, several years now. It's weird because we one of our EPs we put out, Brandon texted us the other day and was like, "Hey, this came out like 2 years ago," which I was like, "Holy shit!" Like it hasn't felt like it's been that long, but it's. I mean, they were together a little bit before I even joined.
So we started jamming, not in this current iteration, in 2017. Sam came on very soon. I mean, it wasn't super long. We didn't play it out or anything like that. And I think we played our first show in March 2018. Yeah. So within 6 months, Sam was in, and it's been that way ever since.
How many releases do you think you have all together?
3 right now. Yeah.
3.
I think because we had like a really early demo that I wasn't on. And then we had Love Quantified, the EP, and then that split that we did with Panzer Chocolate. So yeah, 3 right now. Working on the 4th, so.
Yeah, 4th's like in the can.
What's going on with that?
Not too much. We're finishing it up. We got all of the instrumental stuff done, so we're just working on getting Brandon's vocals done. It's been tough with just COVID and everything, just trying to figure out, when we were just about to start recording when everything kind of hit in March. So it kind of threw a wrench in everything. We were like, I don't know if it's safe to even go to someone's house and record, like what is it? Should we be practicing? What does that look like? So it's kind of difficult, probably about after a couple months, and we kind of saw how things were going. We're like, okay, I think we can, we're not all going out everywhere. I think we can get together and just get these songs sharpened up and get recording. So it's just kind of been a slow process over the past 6 months, probably, of just when we can get in there, getting stuff done and trying to figure it out. But it's been good. It's kind of nice. We're I'm personally very excited about the songs. A lot of them are pretty fresh. It's not, you don't always get to record things right when you have them ready. Like sometimes you sit on them for like a little while, and then by the time you record it, you're kind of bored of it. So
yep.
It's nice to have something where I'm like excited. It's at the forefront of what I'm doing. It's been good.
Sounds like a nice like pace too to record. I feel like, I've kind of been in that situation where like you go in for like a day or like a couple of days in a studio and just like bang it all out. Being able to like just like take your time and work on it piece by piece. Do you find that's like changing the process a little bit? Or is that just creating something a little bit, I don't know, just more thought out?
So yeah, it's not the typical kind of recording setup. Usually, you got your songs already and you just get in there, especially if you're paying by the hour. You're like, I need to get
I have this many songs.
Yeah. As fast as we can, as close to perfect as we can within our time constraint and budget constraints. But it's been nice working with Brian from Panzer Chocolate, because he's kind of set it up where we can kind of go at our own pace, which has been nice. So there's definitely some things I've been able to polish and add on that weren't there initially that I had in my head, but was like, man, I don't know if I have time to really get this fit. So it was nice to have that extra time and breathing room to really like nail down the parts I wanted. So it's been good.
I gotta give so many props to Brian and Marina for having us in their house week after week. I mean, like, to work on a record at the level of band that we are for 6 months is not only, it's just like, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. I mean, we're not like Fleetwood Mac or something here, So, just to be, and then, come back and add things and work on things. And it's kind of like a very professional experience in that we've been able to, we demo the song, we listen to the song. If there's something we don't like, or there's something that we feel might suit the song better, we can come back to it. We can improve on it, as opposed to the standard process that I'm sure most of us are used to as in punk bands. Where you show up to the studio, bang it out, and hope for the best. This has been like a totally different thing where we're able to really craft the songs to where we want them to be. And honestly, the coolest thing probably has been the fact that we've been able to just we had enough songs for a full-length album going in to Brian's, and we ended up basically reorchestrating a bunch of songs. We came up with a song in the basement. It's just a really fulfilling process, I think, and a enriched process, a process that that offers a lot to it. One that I've never had anything like, an experience like this recording anything. So it's definitely, it's got its blessings and its curses with the COVID thing, but it's definitely slowed us down in a good way and in a bad way.
Yeah, while we're shouting out, Marina is also, for those who are listening who aren't aware, Marina edits all of our videos. So definitely
she makes us look good. Thank you.
She does so much here for us. Just to see that welcomingness and just that ability to support, it's definitely going to speak to your album. I can't wait to hear it.
They're the best. They're just best. They're creative and fun and nice. There are a whole bunch of things that you hope for when you're working with somebody on creating your art.
Right.
Cool. So did we both grow up in Rhode Island?
I didn't. I was born in Connecticut. I've kind of moved around a few times. So I've lived in North Carolina for years, Pennsylvania, and then came back up here when I was, 15 or 16. And I kind of been in the area ever since. So probably in the past, 17 years, been in Rhode Island, but not born and raised.
So when did the two of us meet each other, start to create music with each other?
You and I, Sam and I?
Yeah, yes.
I was like, we haven't made any music together.
What do you mean? We had that whole album.
Brandon, actually, you have. You've forgotten all of it, yeah.
I mean, that's pretty likely. That could happen. Right. So Sam and I were in a band. Well, no, how did we meet and start making music is a larger question.
Yeah, that's
oh, shit.
It's a long intertwined history of being near each other or adjacent, I guess.
Adjacent. So Sam was in a band previously, like a death metal band called Death Wish. And the guitar player of that band is one of my childhood best friend's little brothers. Rhode Island shit,
Yeah.
Well, I had tried out for vocals for that band in like 2008 or 9 or something. I don't even remember how long ago this was. I don't know. You would know better about your band than me.
Yeah. It was probably 07 or 08 probably.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And at that point in time, it was just 2 guitar players and a drummer. Your good friend Dre, our good friend Dre.
Yeah.
So basically, we had a couple practices together. It didn't work out for whatever reason on my end, and then Sam was their vocalist. And later on, and that was kind of how I met Sam. But we were in a band together called Black Celebration, which was not a Depeche Mode cover band. But Depeche Mode is one of my favorite bands, and I felt like it sounded like a mean, angry punk band, so it became Black Celebration. So we were in a band for a little while together that was known as that, and that was like 2014 or 13.
Yeah,
and here's Anxious Wave, a totally. The way that Anxious Wave, well, I'll get to that when you ask me if you want to.
No, it's coming out naturally. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, Anxious Wave needed a bass player. That was basically it. Mikey, our guitar player, and Dylan, our drummer, and myself, we had been jamming for a while. We had another guy that was playing bass for a little bit. He didn't really want to do it. And Sam did. We tried Sam out, and it was like we were never not in a band together. I don't know. It was meant to be.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Yeah, it's funny how those things work out because I think didn't I like talk to you when you were first starting the band about potentially joining? But I was in a different band. So
that's right.
Yeah, because I was in an indie folk Americana kind of band playing bass. And at the time I was touring a lot, so I was pretty busy. I wasn't really around to like go to practices or do stuff. So understandably so, you guys were just kind of like, well, you need to be here to be in the band.
Yeah, you can't be in the band if you can't play in it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you guys had someone you were working with, and I was like, oh, that's all good. And then I ended up like leaving the band that I was in, and just happened to like open up Facebook, and I saw your post. You're like looking for bassist, and I was like,
why not?
I play bass. I'm not in a band. Yeah, why not?
Oh yeah.
And just went for it. Yeah.
Sam, you did quite a bit of touring with that band too.
Yeah.
That was the Big Lonesome.
Yep, Big Lonesome. Yeah, they're based out of Boston. Yeah, we did a ton of touring. We did pretty much a full year. We played like about 100 shows, like 25 different states. We were all over the place. It was a lot of fun. It was a huge learning experience all across the board, like how to set up a tour, how to figure the logistics of that kind of stuff out, how not to die in a Walmart parking lot,
That's crucial. That's crucial. It was a lot of fun. It was funny too, because I joined that band. I've been playing guitar for 17 years, but kind of wanted to play bass, and they were looking for a bassist. So I didn't really have a lot of experience, and joined that band. Kind of figured it out, and being able to play a lot was nice because it kind of really forces you to get good at it because you're just doing it every night. That was a huge like growth learning moment for me too. It was a good experience overall. It was just get on some show and you got to fill 3 hours. So my singer would be like, "All right, we're playing these songs. You don't know them. I'm going to yell the chords out. Figure out a bass line to it." A lot of like on the fly stuff. So just trying to make it work, playing for tips or like just playing like a brewery or whoever would take us. So yeah, it was good. It was fun. But it was nice to come back to something a little more like low key and local and not, we're all older. We all got jobs and stuff. So it wasn't as high stakes. And kind of nice because they're all, I don't know, everyone's really cool about what anyone wants to do, which is nice. Like everyone someone's like, this is my part. Someone goes, great. That's it. That's the part. Like there's no, fighting about, should that be there? That's getting in the way of my thing or whatever. It's been pretty fluid and just like low stress. It's weird to be honest, because most bands, there's always some kind of issue. So it's been really good.
Steve's always been my fill-in bassist.
Yeah.
Steve's like guitarist by trade, but every time I have a band, I'm always like, just trying to just poke him to play the bass. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But for what it's come out to, I don't know. He's done some awesome things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's fun. It's different. It's different, but it's fun. So
exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. Now you guys recorded your Love Quantified EP at the Radar Studio, and that's New England's first solar-powered studio. What was that process like? How was that?
That was fantastic in every way. So we met the engineer on that recording, Daryl, at our old practice space. Well, not practice space, but jam stage is kind of like a rent by the hour. If you're in Providence, you probably practiced. So he was working. Yeah, right. Everybody has. He was working the front desk and was just into what we were doing and said, "Hey, you guys should come check out the studio that I record at." And he got a fantastic sound on that EP, and working with him and Will, who mastered it. Will actually is the owner of the property. The Radar Studio is this like beautiful piece of land in Connecticut. In the studio is a reconstructed or repurposed farmhouse. And it's like this huge space with like, if you've ever even like about enjoying making music, you will go in there and you can spend hours and hours and hours of having the most fun ever playing any instrument you can imagine, because I have it. It was great. It was really, really great, which leads me to why we, if we had such a great experience with Daryl, why would we go to Brian and Morena? Well, the biggest thing is, likely cost. And Brian and Morena are really good friends of ours, and they're really close to us. So like physically close to us. So it's a lot easier in that way. It's almost like Panzer Chocolate is like the sister band or brother band of Anxious Wave. We play a lot of shows together. They're very involved in everything we do. We've done a bunch of videos with them and stuff like that. So it's a really like an interpersonal thing too. They're basically like our siblings at this point. So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like an awesome place to record. An album like maybe a few years ago that I recorded, I played at like this place in Massachusetts on like a horse farm. So it was like same thing. Like everywhere you look, there's like a new instrument. We recorded my guitar by like throwing open a piano and trying to pick up some of those like chords.
Yeah,
but,
nice.
I just remember like I had like did like this big like vocal part. I just felt sick. I went outside to like go throw up, and there's just like a horse just like free range like grazing right there on the side of me.
No, you don't.
It's just like, all right, well, this is it's certainly unique, but it's nice when you can be in your own little serene world like that.
I think that's very important, like for creating. You don't always realize it, but it's just like if you can get in a spot where you feel comfortable and just relaxed, you can get such a better performance out. It's definitely important to have that vibe, and especially Daryl was really, really easy to work with. He knew how to get what he needed out of us and like out of the amps and everything. So there wasn't a lot of time wasted like setting things up or setting sounds. We dialed things in pretty quickly, which was nice. And Will and his wife were just very hospitable. Remember like waking up in the morning, they had coffee and, some fruit and stuff like that. And they're just like, hang out, do what you need to. They had like a couple of rooms we could stay in, which was really nice. So yeah, it was a great experience. I definitely suggest checking it out if if you're looking for a place, like, especially if you're looking for something that's more of like a traditional studio setup. Like I would say it's a great place to go. They know what they're doing.
The records that they've cut, look at just like Google some of the things that have been recorded there, and you will be absolutely stoked. They've worked on some like really, really awesome records. So check them out.
Yeah, it looks beautiful from what I saw on their website too. So you're working on the record, where also you were talking about also shooting a music video, correct?
Yep.
Cool.
Yes, we are.
Do you want to give anything away on that, or is this a kind of a secret?
I don't want to give too much away, just because I want everyone to watch. If I tell you all the ins and outs.
Yeah, we don't have to. We don't have to give away the concept, but we could talk about who we're working with everything, because we I don't know if you guys heard of Death Drop Gorgeous.
they just released that like a month or two ago. It wasn't too long ago.
About a month, yeah.
Yeah. Which is, a couple of guys from Providence did kind of like an indie flick, a horror flick. Really fun. It was a really fun movie. We got to be in a scene just like at dusk, like doing like a show going. That was the backdrop for the scene. They're really great guys, really great people. And, they were looking to do something creative and kind of hit us up and we're like, hey, do you want to do like a music video, just some kind of collaboration? We're like, wait, why not? Like, how are we going to say no to that?
That scene was great. Yeah, that scene was awesome. I actually know Wayne pretty well, who stars in the movie. He worked at AS220 with me for years. So I kind of was like, just like in their ear the whole time when they were just filming, just trying to figure out as much info as possible from them. And I got to see like the glory hole scene when they first recorded it and stuff, Yeah, that movie came out so good.
It did, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The amount of acclaim that they're getting for it is like that's so well deserved, and I'm so excited for them from top to bottom. Like they just won. I don't know if you guys knew this, but it was announced I think yesterday or maybe the day before. But they won Best Screenplay and Best Supporting Actor at the Houston Horror Film Festival, and an award at the Wicked Queer Festival for Audience Choice. I think it was, or Audience Pick, but. The movie came out fantastic, so I am absolutely stoked about how the music videos kind of come out. It's going to be great. I'll give like a couple hints. There's gonna be some goop and some weirdness. There's goopiness and weirdness. That's it.
Did you say poop or goop?
Goop.
Okay, I'm thinking like. I'm going to Pink Flamingo in my head. No, that scene was awesome. You guys definitely look super rock and roll. I think like they had made like some like glassware out of like sugar and like shattered it on people during that scene and stuff too. So if it's anything like that, I can't wait to see it.
It's going to be pretty extravagant from our talks. It sounds like there's going to be it's going to be pretty crazy. Like a lot of weird shit going on and like just very colorful and explosive, and I don't know. I feel like it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I've never done a music video before, so
yeah, same. I've never done anything like this before.
Yeah.
And Brandon was in Death Drop. Well, Brandon from Death Drop, I should say, was in like Tinsel Teeth. Yeah, and I feel like the biggest show that sticks out that I saw from them was Foo Fest a while back, and like Steph is like probably naked or half naked with like a dildo on, passing out like silly string and beating herself on stage and like covered in fake blood, real blood, and it was just like.
So we're talking about a dude that was in this band. So you have, if that's the kind of stuff that was going on in this band on the ride, where the video's going, right?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm absolutely ready. Yeah. That's going to be cool. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Same.
So what are some of the artists that kind of like you've listened to over the years? Like what really sticks out to you?
Sam, you want to go first? I get a little bit long-winded.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to too. So, but yeah, I'll go first. I have pretty diverse tastes. When I first started when I was a kid, I was like super into like punk, hardcore, stuff like that. I was one of those stupid kids that was like, I listen to punk. That's it. Everything else is stupid. So I was listening to like, I think Anti-Flag was one of the first like bands that I heard that I like really got into, because I was just like, man, these guys are so fucking pissed off. They swear so much. I was like 12 or something like that. I was like, man, I've never heard anything like this. This is amazing. So they were definitely like a big influence when I, first started getting into that kind of stuff. And then the typical stuff, Green Day, I started getting into like Rancid, NoFX, that kind of stuff back in like early 2000s. Ramones was one of the first like punk bands I got into too. That was like the first stuff I learned on guitar. I remember like going to guitar lessons and, he's like, oh, I'll teach you how to play songs. I'm like, just Ramones songs. That's all I need to know. Like, how do I play Beat on the Brass?
You were right.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, oh, you don't want to like learn like Alice's Restaurant or like something complex, like some Led Zeppelin or something. Like, no, just show me how to make power chords and I'm good.
Yeah.
Which I regretted like 10 years later when I was like, man, I should learn how to play guitar actually. But For a good like 10 years, it served me pretty well. And then as I got older, I started getting into like jazz, and then just like weird folk stuff. I don't even remember how I got into that. I think I was listening to my like punk tastes started getting like super obscure. So I started getting into like, well, they're not that obscure, but like I was starting to get like Leftover Cracks, so like all this like crusty stuff. And then like the crusty stuff like led to like Mischief Brew, and that was like folky. And then I started listening to like Andrew Jackson Jihad and like this band called Defiance, Ohio. I don't know if you guys know them at all. And so I took like this weird veer to like this indie realm, and came across the Mountain Goats, which is like my favorite band like ever now. I was on like a torrent site. I was on like Pirate Bay or something like that and saw like full Mountain Goats discography. And I was like, what the fuck is a Mountain Goat? Like, how is that a band? I don't even understand. I just downloaded it out of principle. I was like, I got to check it out. I don't know what this is. And it ended up being like the perfect music for me. It was such a weird, like one of those fate kind of things. And yeah, that's been a huge influence to me. Just lyrically, John Darnielle is just like a really beautiful writer, really good at that stuff. And then he's kind of like add musicians to his group as he's gone. And so like his bassist Peter Hughes is actually like an influence on my bass playing, because it's very doesn't always just play like the easy stuff. He'll play, it's never too complex, but it's always right, and it like accentuates the right parts. And so that's definitely something I try to do in my playing. Yeah, so that's and then the jazz stuff I've been trying to learn on guitar and just in general. So that theory knowledge has been affecting like how I play bass too, because it's now that I've been learning more of the music side, it's easier to play stuff, and it actually works really well for punk, because it seems counterintuitive, but like because like a lot of punk has no music theory to it, but because it doesn't, it like allows me to add that overlay on top of it, because I can be like, you don't know what you just did, but you just played like some crazy thing. You changed keys 3 times, and I know exactly how to put like a bass line on top of that. Like I know how to work it. So it's actually really fun. So I really like playing punk, because you can play whatever you want, and I don't know, it gives some interesting sounds. You can be very creative. So I guess that's it. There's a million bands I like. I don't know. It's hard to narrow it down, but that's been my journey, I guess. I guess is a good way to phrase it.
I'm just glad you clicked on the right Mountain Goats discography.
Yeah,
I was like born into the world loving music. My earliest memories of music were like with my mom and dad. My mom loves Madonna, and my dad loves things like Nazareth. If you combine Nazareth and early Madonna, it kind of sounds like early 80s post-punk. Hear me out. The baby of Nazareth and early Madonna would be a post.
You cracked the code.
I guess eventually that's where my music tastes like lay the strongest. Like my favorite bands would be things, at one point it was the Smiths, but I'm not into the Smiths anymore on account of some of the things that Morrissey had to say and do. But Johnny Marr's guitar work has always been like the super draw. Like I love the music that the band has made. So the Smiths was like my first, like, I love this band so much. Outside of like Marilyn Manson in early middle school, I loved Marilyn Manson, Wu-Tang, 3 6 Mafia. Those were things I really enjoyed as a young person. And my best friend, Joey, turned me on to, I can't remember if it was Anti-Flag or NoFX first. I think it was NoFX and stuff like that. So like pop punk. But the things that I've stuck with, I still listen to post-punk all the time. My shit is like, I love the sound. I love the Chameleons. Depeche Mode, I think, has made some really great records. The Cure has put out some great records. And I cannot currently stop listening to 80s synth funk. Synth funk is like, so Prince is like the surface level, but there's so much other stuff that is just so killer, and no one's really paying a lot of attention to it because it's not 1984 anymore. So yeah, a lot of that kind of stuff. 9 Inch Nails is one of my favorite bands. Converge is such like a standard, but as far as like, I grew up in like the hardcore scene as far as being a teenager, and like going to shows every night in like 2004, seeing all those kinds of bands, the bands that came with that. So more like metalcore bands, crossover bands, that kind of thing. But currently, I say that the biggest influence on the stuff that I am doing in this band, I can't speak for everybody, but in the band that I hear the most on our newest stuff, it would be a combination of Nirvana, another one of my favorite bands ever, Killing Joke, another one of my favorite bands ever, and then the metalcore tinges. You know, there's kind of like that. I wouldn't pick a band because I'm not writing the riffs, so I don't want to speak on that. But there's definitely like that, like shrill Jun Wee quality sometimes to our riffs. In fact, we got a comparison to a band called Heavy Heavy Low Low.
Yes, I love them.
I mean, yeah, my one of my earliest bands was a band called Touchback, and we were kind of like a youth crew hardcore band, and we opened Heavy Low Low at the Living Room.
Cool.
We sounded nothing like Heavy Heavy Low Low, but Aaron, who worked at the Living Room at the time, was like, "Hey, you guys want to play this?" And I'd seen them on MySpace a lot, so it will do great. Let's play it. Right. Sound nothing like it. Everyone kind of stared at us like zombies. But anyway, the phrase that I think encapsulates the sound and the things that I enjoy in Anxious Wave that like make it be would be 80s punk meat on 90s grunge wheat with 2000s metalcore condiments.
It's a nice sandwich you got going.
Yeah, right.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's everything.
I definitely heard some Nirvana in there.
Oh yeah.
And I wasn't surprised when I kind of looked through some of your answers to our pre-interview questions, and I saw that. Did you see that montage of Heck in documentary that came out a couple years ago?
I believe I did. I feel like there's been so many documentaries on the topic that I can't remember which ones I've seen and not seen. So
right. Yeah, this one was different because it was one of the first times that they made a documentary where they didn't focus on Kurt's death at all.
Wow.
And it was
and
all
I
about
haven't seen this one.
It's pretty cool. It's all about his childhood. There's some recordings of him as a kid, and like it kind of like flashes to like animation here or there to like fill in the story in his words. But you get to like just like kind of see where he came from and like his whole life, and without having to like have that burden or weight on it that it's like, you know, oh yeah, he killed himself, you know?
Yeah.
It was really good. It's super sad. There was like one scene where they show him like holding his baby while he, like Courtney's trying to cut his hair, and he's like just zonking out. Yeah. You know, it's just really, really sad, but worth it if you haven't seen it.
And now that you mentioned that footage, I feel like I have seen that footage. Maybe I have seen the document. Like I said, there's been so many documentaries on Nirvana. I mean, Kurt Cobain mostly, you know, that I can't remember which ones I have and haven't seen. But the footage that you're talking about where he's holding the baby, definitely familiar.
It definitely hits when you see it, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you guys one of the Fall Off fans, or did you stick with them through Foo Fighters? Or Dave, I should say. Yeah.
I enjoy Foo Fighters. I know Brandon's not a huge Foo Fighters.
Yeah, I got some shit to say about them.
Let's go. We want to hear it. Yeah.
So in 1995, I was a member of the BMG Music Group Club. I was 10 or 9 or something like that. And it was the thing where you could send a penny on a postcard. It was in magazines at the time. You send them a penny, you stick it to the postcard, and they send you back 10 tapes or CDs or 12 or something like that you want or think you want as a 10-year-old. And you never pay them a dime, because the other thing is like, once you do this, now you have signed up to $30 a month of cassette. So I got Foo Fighters, the self-titled, the one with the gun on the cover. And I was like 9 or 10 years old. It was one of the things I want, because I enjoyed Nirvana at a very, very young age, and wanted to see what's going on with my homeboy since Kurt's gone. Even then, at 9 years old, was like, this is trash. I didn't like it, man. I felt like in hindsight, that first Foo Fighters album just sounds like Nirvana throwaway tracks. Like the songs that Nirvana was like, these aren't good enough for us, but you can like go do your demo thing, Dave. They've written better stuff and have much more of a legacy now. But when they're fine. It's like, I think that they have some radio songs, like if you're like at Walmart or something, and, and then, Everlong comes on the loudspeaker. You're not like,
Yeah. That's how I always view them. Is I feel like they're like tolerable radio rock. I feel like
it'll do. That's how I feel about the Foo Fighters.
I think about them in a different sense, I guess, than I do some other bands. I just appreciate. I think it's solid songwriting. I think the songwriting is like Dave Grohl is good at writing hits. And
I agree with that.
Like he's just a career musician. He writes hits. That's what he does. They're catchy. You can listen to them. I don't, like you said, you don't want to rip your ears out when you hear it at Walmart. Is it something I like listen to every day? No, but I'll pop it in every once in a while. I listen to if I'm in the mood or something, or if it's on, I'm not going to change the radio station. So
during the pandemic, I was, and Mikey was doing this too, guitar player, going through the discographies of various musical acts. And one of the bands that I tried to do was Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
I think it was the second album, Color and the Shape.
Mm-hmm.
That album, I remember being like, okay, I think that I understand the Foo Fighters a little bit better than I once. Yeah. But then I listened to the next one and I was like, nah, I can't.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point where you just like crossed over to like only writing pop hits, and then like It was some album he put out like 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, I'll give it a listen. And it was so bad, I had to stop listening to it because I think there was like one song on it. I was like, oh, this is the radio single, and the rest is just, I don't know, he pulled him out of his ass just to fill a record. I don't know I don't know what that was. It was just, he's like, we can't just put out one song, Dave. Fine, here you go. Whatever.
Sprinkle a little production on it. There you go.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
I've never been a fan. I will say there's like one of like their recent tours, he like broke his leg on stage.
Yeah.
And he did like the rest of like the show like in like a throne or some shit, like just giving like the rock sign. That was like, I was like down with that. I was like, okay, cool. You didn't just like call it off. Then he did like a show too where he talked about like, I think it was about touring and stuff like that. And that was pretty cool. I think I like him as a person. I just don't know if I like Foo Fighters as a thing,
Yeah, I think there's like an important distinction to make of like, I think he's like a performer. I saw this, I can't remember if it was Garth Brooks or something. It was one of those like mainstream country guys from like the 90s. And he was talking, I think someone asked him about like being a musician, and he was like, I'm not a musician. I'm a performer. Like, I play music. I put a show on. I'm not writing some intricate piece of music. This isn't like art for me. Yeah. This is a job. And I feel like Dave Grohl kind of falls into that category a little bit too. He might not know it, but I think he
certainly doesn't act it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He kind of owned it with Nirvana. I remember like a couple of interviews where he just talks about how he's like not good at drums.
Yeah.
He's just like, I just do this. I'm the guy who shows up.
Yeah. Well, he's just.
On the other hand, I think that his imperfections as a drummer are good. Like like beats the shit out of the drum set, and like you want to get an aggressive drummer. I mean, a slow aggressive drummer. He'll do it. I think that Dave Grohl is a good drummer in that he's good for what Nirvana writes or wrote. So I can respect his songwriting as pop music, but like I think there's better pop musicians that write that kind of stuff. Hole, on the other hand, since we're on the Nirvana topic, and post Nirvana, Hole, on the other hand, those first 2 Hole records are killer, and I don't give a shit what anybody has.
Yeah.
They're awesome records, particularly Pretty on the Inside. That album is fantastic.
Yeah, I think I love everything Nirvana's ever made. It was so dirty. You know what I mean? In the beginning, it was just so raw, and that's what I enjoy in a show. And if you can make it sound like I'm at a show when I'm listening to it, and I can vibe with that and feel that, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
yeah, I definitely vibe with that. I mean, that's kind of how I always kind of see our band too. Is just kind of there's a rawness to it, which I like, especially like live. Just go crazy, and Mikey will just try out something new on a song, just on the fly, which I love. I think it's great because like every show is different. There'll be times where like I'll be playing, and all of a sudden he's just wailing on something. And I'm like, what song? I'm like, it works though. It sounds great. So whatever. It's fun.
Has it ever like not worked? Like it's been real bad at like a live show?
Actually, no. Somehow he always hits the right weird thing. Just different. Yeah. It's always just different. It's never bad. just different.
I think that we're biased, but I don't think that we have ever had like a terrible show.
Yeah, I mean, there's been times where we forgot what song was happening next, but the only time
that's not a big deal.
Goes wrong is if what's that?
So that's not a big deal.
No, that's part.
That's not a big deal. I'm talking about like we like completely like blew the song or something that.
It's
we've had some really bad shows in that, like we're playing to 3 people or something like that.
I mean, that's typical band shit.
Yeah.
Playing to like 3 people is that's like a normal show, I feel like. I mean, we've been lucky. We actually have pretty good attendance on most of our shows, but I feel like Rhode Island music always comes in waves. It's like there's like a year where everyone goes to shows, and then there's like 3 years where no one wants to go to see a show, and it just goes back and forth, and you never know. But I feel like we've been pretty lucky to be around when people actually want to go out. Like the year before COVID, I feel like people were coming out pretty consistently. So
yeah, our worst shows haven't been anywhere. They haven't been in Rhode Island. The worst shows are the oddest.
Yeah.
We played one really, really, really like definitely bad show in like deep Connecticut once. That stands out as a bad one, but not necessarily on account of anything in the band. It was just like, oh, here's this band from out of town. Let's go outside and wait for them to be done.
Every time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's how it always goes.
I work at AS220, and I was bartending there for years. So it's like, I can't tell you how many times, like, to speak to, like, 1 year there's a bunch of people at a show, and the next year there's nothing.
Yeah.
Like a band would play, and the place would be packed, and I'd make great money. And then like I'd see they'd like be on a bill like a year from then. I'd be like, oh, they're playing tonight. We're gonna be like busy. Get ready.
Great, yeah.
And then I just stand there all night. It's awful too, because there's been so many times where there's like an awesome band on, and I'm like the only person listening. There's like 2 people in the room.
Yeah. No, I saw that big time because the death metal band I was in, we were together for 10 years. So there was a 10-year span that we were playing shows pretty much every year, like pretty nonstop. We didn't really take a break. So you'd see it. There'd be like a year and you're like, man, everyone's coming out to metal shows. This is awesome. And then all of a sudden no one comes to metal shows, and you can't there's 6 people. Yeah. And just as hard as you'd be hitting up all your friends, you're trying to, the regular people that would normally go, and everyone's busy, or they got something going on. And then all of a sudden there'll be all these new people that you've never seen before, and they're all there, and everyone's about it again. So it's just this weird cycle.
I love the new people.
Age thing. I don't know if people age out of it, and then like the younger people come in, or what it is, but I assume it's probably similar anywhere else too. But
oh yeah, we actually played a show together. I found out talking to Sam before we did this. We played a benefit show together last year for Handsome Dan, which is a pitbull rescue. Right, yeah. So I was in a band called Amitié, and one of our guitarists put that on. So yeah, that's so crazy. Like, Rhode Island's so small, you know what I mean? I'm like just going through this, and I'm like, oh shit, never mind. We actually have shared the stage. Yeah,
yeah. It's a super, super Rhode Island thing. It's funny how that stuff works. Is like you'd be in the same place with somebody and have no idea because you haven't met yet, so you don't know. But there's actually a funny story with that. My very first like high school band, we were not good. It was typical high school band.
What was the name?
Boys' name.
We were called.
Bands were always terrible.
Yeah, I don't even really want to tell you the name because I don't.
Oh no, we got to know the name.
We were called Most Remain Astray. It was like 2006 or something like that.
Pretty metal.
Yeah. We were. It was a weird mix because I really like punk stuff. So it was me, and then the other guitarist really liked metal, like Avenged Sevenfold and like Metallica and stuff. We'd each separately write songs and then bring them to the band. So you'd have like half the songs in our repertoire was like rip off Anti-Flag songs, and then half the songs were like off Metallica songs.
Yeah.
And it was just this weird mix of the two. But it was
okay.
Yeah,
a Metallic Anti-Flag, I don't think that would be the worst
we made
thing.
it work.
There was a band called Pipe Down that was actually basically that. So
really, that's great.
Which is better.
So we were around like when like all the grindcore and screamo and all that stuff was really popular, like 2005, 2006. And there was a band you guys might know them. I don't know. 30 Helens Agree.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I played that show too.
I played so many shows with them. Actually, Steve and I both have played a lot of shows with them.
Nice.
I went to high school with we were in the same high school as Jim and Keith.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah. We so we played a few shows. We used to like rent out this Elks Lodge in Warwick. and like put our own shows on. So like we'd have them on with us. I think we played with them at the living room one time, like way back. And then it was like one of those weird things that like they did a reunion show last year. And Anxious Wave.
Yeah. That was the same show, right?
That was the same show.
Yeah, that was the same show. That's right.
I booked them. Okay. Yeah. I begged Mikey to do that.
I was trying to see if I thought maybe I don't know if I got them mixed up or not.
No, you're good. Yeah. You're good.
But it was so funny that like some band that I played with like 15 years ago in a completely different band, and then play with them again with a new, like what I'm doing now is just such a weird, another one of those like weird Rhode Island things. And then like the drummer Casey has like popped up random places in my life, just weirdly, like where I'll just show up somewhere and, like he works at Bolt Coffee, and like, I'll go, you go to Bolt and I'm like, Casey, what are you doing here? Like,
also every band he's in is phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
He's such a phenomenal drummer.
Yeah.
It like blows my mind how, like when he was in Roz, you go see Roz and the Rice Cakes, and like the stuff he was playing, and then he was singing too and playing at the same time. It's crazy. But like on top of that, he's just a really good dude too. So it's like
solid.
Yeah. He's just the complete package. He's just
he was like he would always like thank me whenever like he played a venue that I worked at, and like he would also pick up all the glasses for you at the end of the night. Okay. Like this dude's like moving his drum set, like all smiles, hugging every person he sees, and he's like also like your bar back now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's great. I'm always happy if I like see Casey somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny how like those things will come full circle like that. And like my friend Dre, our friend Dre, was in like that first band with me. So he of course like came to the show. He's like, I gotta go. I have to see 30 Helms Agree. Like we played with those guys so long ago.
My first band also, so Mikey OB from 30 Helms Agree was actually, he was in another band before that I cannot even remember the name of, but I remember the show together, our metalcore bands. We're talking like 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
He had a gas mask on. That's all I can really remember. I can't remember the name of it. But he wore a gas mask while he played. Death by Sodomy, maybe, was the name of the band.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Maybe. Yeah. But my first band, that band was, check this out, as metalcore as it gets, Silenced Forever.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Now I'm just stuck on 30 Helms Agree. You guys got me going. Yeah. So I was kind of the one who like nudged him to do that show. Nice. Because I was really into 30 Helms Agree like a lot when I was younger. And then I started
around here all the time.
Yeah, they were amazing. And I started working with him, and I didn't even realize it was him from the band until like one night at work I decided to throw it on, and he's like, dude, like, what are you doing? It's just hearing them play that stuff like that many years later. It was super nostalgic, I think, for a lot of people at that show.
Yeah, definitely.
There were some people that came out that I did not expect to get out to that show, and they were just excited that they got to see that again.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool to get to. I remember seeing them all the time on shows with like Vanna at the living room.
Oh yeah,
and then to see them at the ASU20 now, it's pretty bizarre. There's like a staying power,
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see too. There's like, I feel like there's certain people that have just stayed active in music just throughout the years. So it's nice to just like every once in a while you bump into them and they're doing something. It's just like nice to see that other people are still out there doing it too.
Yeah.
Which is cool. There's like a little like, even if you didn't know them very well, there's a little like solidarity of like, okay, you're still sticking it out too.
Yeah.
Not everyone keeps doing it. It's not easy, but it is nice to see when there's, some of those other guys that are out there doing it and grinding. So
hell yeah. Let's throw another big question at you. I'll make this one a little easier than favorite artist. Why do we make art? Why do you guys make art?
So live music in particular is this like cathartic experience in a lot of ways. Sometimes it's like a therapy session, where I can expel some of my demons and flail around and freak out, and everyone goes, oh, great show. But really all I did was like drink a little bit too much and flail and howl. And people are like, whoa, you're so great at this. And hey, man, and then there's also the reality of that, it feels good when people enjoy a thing that you do. when someone says, I really like what you're putting out, or it's important to me to get to your show, or a great set, as blanket as that statement is, it feels good to be valued, is the ultimate answer, I guess. And it's also a cathartic thing. And I just fucking love music. And if I can make some too, am so lucky. I have to reiterate that. I'm so lucky to be in a band like Anxious Wave with 3 dudes who kill it at making great music while I flail around and howl. It's pretty lucky deal for me, Yeah,
I definitely would echo what Brandon's saying about it being cathartic. It's definitely, that's a big part of it. Is just, I don't know, music's always been something I liked. It's always resonated with me since I was a kid. I just always have liked it. Listening to what you did when you grew up, Brandon. My parents are religious and very anti rock and stuff like that. So there was a good part of my life where I was until I was maybe 6 or so, where I didn't hear an electric guitar. I just didn't hear one. It was all just religious music and acoustic guitars and singing.
So this is all an active rebellion.
It's to some extent. You would think so. Yeah. They must not have realized it, but one of their Christian artists was too contemporary and had an electric guitar in it. And I was playing the tape and listening to it on my front porch, and I heard the electric guitar happen, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?"
What is
yeah, if I listen to it now, I would never even get excited about it. But because I had never heard it before, it awakened something. There was some kind of energy, it made me want to run around and just go crazy. And that always stuck with me. So that was from that point on, I was I need to hear more of this. Where can I get more of this? Where can I find this? I was grabbing the radio, putting it on the stations I wasn't supposed to listen to, trying to just get as much of it as I could. So that's always aggressive music just always resonated with me, and just the energy and the rawness of it. But music's always just been very personal and always tied to my feelings and experiences and memories. And no matter what I've done, there's always music that ties me to those specific points. It's definitely a therapeutic thing for sure. There's been so many things I've worked through just noodling on my guitar at 3 a.m. Just something stressing me out, I can't sleep, or just going through some kind of shit, and just just grab my guitar and just start playing. I don't have a plan. There's no song. It's just playing it out, and that's always really worked for me. So really all my efforts are just trying to figure out how I can do that more, and how I can better express and get out what I'm feeling through music. Cause it's, when you first start, you don't know what you're doing, and you're you have a crude idea in your head, and it's trying to chisel that out and do it efficiently is difficult. So that's where I'm at now, is trying to just really get good at getting it out as efficiently as possible and as accurately as possible. Which is, the Anxious Wave is great for some of that kind of stuff, because it's just having the freedom to be able to play whatever I want is really awesome. If I'm hearing something, there's times where I'll make a bass line, I'm like, is this too poppy? Or man, this kind of sounds like a ska bass line. I would feel weird putting it out there, because I feel like they're going to be what the hell was that? But that never happens. Every time I'm you know what, I'm feeling it, so I'll just put it there. And we're just that's cool. So it's great.
There's nothing more punk rock than just doing whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's what always resonated with me for punk, is just that freedom, just being you. I think that's hard to do, and if anything that can encourage that is important. So,
yeah,
that layering process too. You come to the table with something, and to see what someone else does to your music and puts on top of it, that's the big game changer too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So did you ever go down the Christian rock K-hole?
Oh God. Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely.
The K-hole Christian rock.
Yeah.
I mean, I was, I was in pretty deep, because it was hard when I was younger to really get a hold of the secular music.
Sure.
So there was all these Christian alternatives to
Norma Jean.
yeah, Norma Jean, Reliant K.
Oh yeah.
Acceptance.
I don't know if I ever
listened to them.
No,
they're a religious pop punk band, in the early 2000s. They were really good.
Nice. Yeah, there's all sorts of I never know what ones people have heard of and what ones they haven't, because it's such an obscure thing. I'm always surprised. One band I still listening to, they're not Christian anymore, but they were at the time, MXPX. I don't know if you ever listened to MXPX at all. Mm-hmm. But that was my favorite band when I was growing up. That was like, if I could just sound like MXPX and play some songs like that, that was a thing for me. I still enjoy listening to him now.
That was unavoidable. Like,
yeah.
If you listened to like hardcore or metalcore or metal in 2006, 7, chances listening to a Christian one.
It's so funny too, is that like, I didn't realize that at the time because I wasn't aware of like the other bands. So I was like listening to like the light versions of all the bands that are out there. But there was always like a band that was basically a popular band. There was a band called Plank Eye that was basically Smashing Pumpkins. Like Relient K was basically Blink. Like there was all these like versions of stuff.
So it was just like cleaned up versions of popular music.
Yeah. And some of them were actually really good, which was weird. And it was like, I wish they weren't Christian because I couldn't show them to anybody. Because I'd be like, man, this band's awesome.
I mean, what was this Smashing Pumpkins band?
They were called Plank Eye.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, they were okay. I
like some Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, they were like a little slower, but it was definitely Smashing Pumpkin vibes in there for sure. There's all sorts of weird alternatives to some. It's definitely like a weird hole to fall into. This Christian ska. I listened to a lot of that when I was a teenager. Yeah.
That was a thing.
Yeah, there's actually there's one band they're called the OC Supertones. Probably one of my favorite ska bands to ever exist, but they're super Christian. So if you can't handle super Christian music, I wouldn't suggest listening to them because they were on it. But they always seem very genuine and like, I know some like Christian music is really manufactured. Yeah, I always appreciate that they seem like genuine people. And like,
can you imagine if we had to like sneak in a Christian agenda? Like, gotta get the God in, or it doesn't count.
Yeah, you got to figure it out somewhere. Or some of those bands are really good at being like vague, like Switchfoot. Like if you're a Christian, you're like, there's like little dog whistle things in there for you to.
That's how you cross over, though.
Yeah. But it wasn't so overbearing that you're like, if you listen to this not knowing anything about Christianity, you wouldn't be like, oh man, that band's really religious. I don't know if I can handle it. So those are those like guys that walk the line that all the youth group leaders hated because they weren't Christian enough.
That's like Under Oath. Under Oath was one that like they just like they did their thing. They screamed a shit ton, but then also there's a song where they're just saying, "Jesus, I'm ready to come home." You know what I mean? Like
or like a Zao or Zao or however you pronounce the name. They're Christian.
And get way more respect. I think. I mean,
I used to listen to
both bands.
Yeah, there was
Under Oath and Zao have both put out great music in their discographies.
Yeah, it's like some metal band called Living Sacrifice that actually wasn't that bad either. Like,
I remember them as well. I had like a compilation or something with them.
Yeah. So there was some like decent. There's actually a band called the Huntingtons that I used to listen to a lot. They're basically like Christian Ramones. They weren't a super Christian, but like they were like just pretty much unabashedly just copying the Ramones style. They fit in with like Screeching Weasel and the Riverdales and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's like a weird subgenre of pop punk that like went the Ramones route, and it's like the Copyrights, Riverdales, all these the queers kind of fall into that category. I wasn't kidding. I listened to so much fucking music. There's so many like branches and weird stuff that I've gone down, but it's an experience.
It sounds like a pretty
learn new things about your band members every day.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
They never stop learning.
Talk about any of that stuff. Yeah.
Let's get the God in Anxious Wave.
Yeah, right.
Brandon, I gotta ask you. I know you have a side project with Brian with Panzer Chocolate, and it's a little heavier. Do you mind elaborating a little bit on that?
Yeah. So the current name of that band is Sewer Hands. I don't know if we're keeping one, but it likely is Sewer Hands. We've had like a million different names for this, but so this was something that kind of came about. Well, COVID helps. You have lots of time, and he lives 7 minutes from me. So, we were able to get together and make some heavy stuff. And basically it just kind of stems from both of our loves for kind of stuff we're actually talking about. I love with like every fiber of my being, and like everyone's eyes are going to roll about this. I love the Acacia Strain. That they write like groovy ass mosh parts, like the grooviest mosh parts ever. And I wanted to basically ape that band and just do exactly what they do, but as if me and Brian wrote it. And that's what we did. So I don't know what we're going to do with it. We recorded one complete song and there's like 2 or 3 that are almost done. Basically, Anxious Wave is recording right now. Panzer Chocolate is recording right now. Brian's in another, also an awesome band called New Hell. They're also recording or writing. I don't know. They're somewhere in the same process. So this Sewer Hands thing, if it's called Sewer Hands, who knows when it's coming out or what, but it will eventually come out and I'm really excited about it. I just wanted to be in a moshi band. I've never, like, someone that grew up moshing his brains out and like loved the metalcore chunky breakdown. I've never really got one of those bands. So it was like, you dig this, I dig this, let's do it. And that's what it's been. It's part of exactly the process that we were talking about earlier about how like Brian and Moran are just like so kind and creative. Like you can throw something out there like, hey, let's start a mosh band. All right, I got riffs. And yeah, so it's really just for fun. I don't know what the hell we're going to do with it, but it's fun. It's fun. That's really it.
There's a friend of mine who like started like a moshi hardcore band like a year or 2 ago, but he was never like into that music. So he just kind of was like, oh, I started listening to and like listed off like 10 artists. And he's like, I think I'm going to do it now, you know? And I think his whole thing is like, he wants to be like the next Hot Topic, like Break It Big. You know what I mean? I'm just like, it's like getting to that age where you're like, oh shit. Like you start to see that like selling out kind of shit. And it's so sad.
It makes a little bit more sense if you're really that invested in it.
Yeah. Yeah. But to see,
this is not that. I promise you that. It's, it's about as far removed from that as anything ever. It's like now, if I'm going to be buried with every song that I've ever been a part of, I can see that there were also some huge breakdowns that you can bury me with.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. What do you think, Steve? Do you have any more questions for him?
Brandon, I know you have a history of booking shows, and I'll ask this for Sam too. You guys have 4 bands to fill a bill. Who are you putting on and why?
That are alive and well.
Any posthumous, and anybody you want ever.
This is a new question, Steve. I like this one.
This is a hard one.
You hit this one from me.
You can answer it too, Josh. Everyone can answer it.
It's huge.
30 Helens agree. 30 Helens agree.
30 Helens agree. And
Green Day.
These are serious. No.
I'm gonna go with feasible, alive, current bands that I would like to see Anxious Wave play with. Mm-hmm. First, my dream bill for Anxious Wave. That's what we'll do. All right. So I want Killing Joke to headline. I want to open at some point because then I just was like, wait, we're not good enough to go after Intercourse because they were my next thing. I was going to bring up a from Connecticut called Intercourse. I love that band. We played with them a couple times. They're really, really cool guys and they fucking shred. So I would throw them on the bill. And I also really enjoyed this band that we played with from Canada, Tunic. They're just like this really shrill. It's like, oh man, after their show, your ears will ring. I promise. But so I mean, that's probably not like my dream bill ever. But I think for us, like a really sick show would be that Killing Joke, Intercourse, Tunic, and would be a really fun show to see.
I'll just stick with like local bands. I feel like definitely Intercourse. I don't know why they're Lesser Glow. Lesser Glow from Boston is really fucking sick.
Yeah, I forgot. We played that show with them.
They're really good. I don't know if you ever heard of them or not. You should check them out. Really sick. Yeah, they were really cool. They were pretty chill. So I would definitely say like Intercourse, like Lesser Glow. I'd want to play with them, so I'd say we'd throw us on there too. I think it'd be a good fit. And then maybe like Hammer Party or something like that.
Definitely Hammer Party. Hammer Party
good, I think that'd be a good like legit solid bill. I think we'd all like work really well together. It'd be a nice similar sounds but different approaches and stuff like that. I think that would definitely be my like dream if we could like set something up at like AS220 or Dusk or something like that. That'd be the show.
We'll book it all.
Imagine seeing Killing Joke at Dusk. Like that would be nuts.
I like that question, Steve. I'm racing through my head now too, and I just feel like 4 is hard. 4 is really hard. You went like kind of like Brennan, you kind of like tried to make it fit your band, and that's I guess that's one way I would look at it. But I'm thinking like, man, I would love to play with like Dangers or Punch or something like that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, did you catch the Danger show that came through like a year ago now? But
the one that was in what, Worcester, right?
No, it was at dusk.
Oh, I saw them the next day. Yeah.
Oh, word. Yeah. That was so much fun. I was so happy to see them in Providence.
Yeah, they're amazing. I mean, also like Graf Orlock and all that is just fucking crazy. You know,
yeah,
they're a force to be reckoned with. And I think this is like the second or third episode now that they've been brought up. But even still, like, man, like I'm sure, like, you know, Sam, you talk about mountain goats. I'm sure you'd love to be on a bill with them too. Like,
oh man, yeah, I would. Yeah, that would be definitely a dream come true. That was like one of those things, especially when I was in like the more like indie Americana band, where I was like, man, that would be we would definitely fit on that bill. It'd be a great thing. It'd be just nice to be able to play with them. Been lucky enough to talk to a couple members in that band. I think they played the Columbus a couple years ago, and like ran into the bassist. He was just happened to be outside, so we got to talk to him for a little while, which was really cool. I was like talking to people who are, you know, we'll say successful. You know, it's hard with music to like, you know, there's various levels of like, but you know, they're able to do it. Yeah, they're able to do it as a job. Yeah. And I like hearing about like their experiences, and like, I don't know, you always kind of like put them up on a pedestal, like glorify and be like, oh, they must be living the life up there. And it's, you know, he's talking about like, oh, I got to go home, and like, you know, I got kids at home and my wife, and, you know, trying to figure out how to work things into my tour, and like, he's still working hard. And I always appreciate that. It's like, makes me feel better about where I'm at. And like, also just see that like they go through the similar things. So, but yeah, I love to play the Mountain Goats. Love to play with like MXPX, just because like they were such a huge influence when I was younger.
Nirvana. I would love to play with Nirvana.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
Foo Fighters.
And then there's like Too Good that I just would never.
I wouldn't turn the show down, man.
Oh, I wouldn't turn that down either. Hell no.
I feel like there's like shows that are like some of the people are like Too Good that I would not want to be on that show. Like I would go to it, but I wouldn't want to be on it. Like some of the jazz guys I like some of the newer ones. Like, I don't know if you heard of Thundercat, but he's ridiculous. He's a really phenomenal bassist, but he plays like, it's like a mix of like R&B, soul stuff, like a lot of modern stuff. He's got like rappers and stuff that come on his songs. So it's very modern. You know, if you like Kendrick Lamar and some of that kind of stuff, it's like that, but like on another level. I got to see him at Jazz Fest a couple years ago, and it like blew my mind. And I was like, I should just put my bass away. Like I just need to stop. It's
never
like,
touch it again.
Yeah. He plays like a 5-string, plays with his fingers, but he was like shredding things I didn't think were possible. It was just crazy, and he uses a lot of crazy effects and stuff. If you like jazz or any of that kind of stuff, I would definitely suggest checking him out, because he's ridiculous. But I wouldn't want to play before him. I wouldn't even want to bring my bass in the same like 20-mile radius as him.
So who would you play with, Steve?
My dream bill?
Yeah.
Rush would be headlining.
That's a good. Yeah. There we go. I actually wasn't expecting that at all.
Oh, I love Rush. I grew up on that. My dad was in a progressive classic rock band called Monolith until my sister was born. Like I was always at band practice and stuff. So Rush would be headlining. Thrice would be there. Misery Signals would be there because I'm a metalcore junkie.
Hell yeah.
I don't know who my fourth would be. Shit. Maybe Blink 182. Just hit every spectrum.
Just get everything.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
Like that.
Cool.
I love Rush, man. Rush is so good. It's always like frustrating. There's a lot of people that do not like Rush. The Rush is either like you love
it, get it, or you don't. Yep.
Yeah.
I can't stand the voice.
I love it.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, and, you know, I respect it. That's fine.
I hate Coheed, so I know I'm kind of, you know.
I don't hate Coheed, but I don't really like love Coheed the way some people love Coheed. You know,
I enjoy them.
I'd say I'd love Coheed. Like mostly Second Stage, Turbine Blade, and Keeping Secrets. Everything after that, I'm not crazy about, but those albums really resonate with me.
Yeah. The funny story, actually, I saw Rush once, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. My brother was going to school in Pennsylvania. So like for his birthday, we decided to all buy tickets to go see him. They're playing in like Hershey, Pennsylvania or something. Got to see him, but it was so funny seeing the crowd because it was all like middle-aged men with their sons. Yep. And like a couple really sad wives that were like,
yep.
Yeah.
I feel like it is definitely a father-son bonding band.
Yeah.
If you get along with your dad real well, chances are you guys both enjoy Rush.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I want to thank you again for your time on Musicians and Makers with us tonight. This is, again, Anxious Wave, where we spoke with Sam and Brandon. Where can we find more about your music?
We are on Facebook.com. We are on Instagram. We are on Bandcamp. The handle on the Instagram is anxious.wave, facebook.com/anxiouswave, and anxiouswave.bandcamp.com. We're on any streaming platform that you can think of. I think we're on just about every one of them. Yeah, those are the spots. We don't have like a .com or anything like that, but maybe soon. I don't know.
No, that's too professional for us.
Yeah, DIY.
We're a Fortune 500 company, okay?
I can tell you we made a .com for this site or this project, and the views are not coming in from the website. So
yeah,
noted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So check out our website. Also, find us on Instagram, Spotify, Facebook, all the things. And thanks again for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was fun.